What is going on? We have a live in studio and we will have people online as well. So double take on both. We have a lot to cover today. I want to make sure that we get through all of it. So I don't want this live stream to go too long, but I am really excited for this because we are talking about subject to transactions today and I need a lot of coffee because I am very exhausted. We have two properties that are about to go into escrow. One of them is a 12 unit and one of them is a fourplex. Guys, where do you find a fourplex for $235,000? It's crazy. So, we have those two transactions. We have a couple other ones, but we are really wanting to do subject to transactions. I'm going to talk about what exactly a subject to transaction is, what are the objections that you typically have with sellers, what are some of the entry fee, like the number wise. I want to take you guys through all of this today because this is where you kind of get an understanding on exactly what subject to transactions are. Because if you're going to start calling agents or start calling sellers with creative financing, this is something you definitely need to know. So there might be a couple distractions because I do have someone that's coming at 6:30. So I want to make sure that he gets in, but there's people that are also coming in this. There's a classroom. So if you also want to hang out with us in person, we are out of Houston. So you can DM me on Claire and Investor to find out where we are located. All right. So jumping into it, I want to go through the basics of what a subject to transaction is. So, a couple things. A lot of people, I have been getting a huge pushback of people saying that why would any seller want to do a subject to? Why is this? A lot of different pushback on subject to. So we are going to go through all of that because I think it's important for everybody to understand why we do subject to transactions. So the first thing is, what exactly is a subject to transaction? I wish that John Anthony was here and Manuel. But it's basically taking over an existing debt on a property, so the mortgage. So if I have a $300,000, if I owe $300,000, that means I'm taking over that debt, subject to even all the liens sometimes. Sometimes I can take over the liens depending on if it makes sense. Somebody asked me about solar panels recently. I'm like, I don't really, it depends if it makes sense or not, but a lot of solar companies are extremely hard to work with. So, any subject to transactions, we are taking over any debt. So, recently I've been seeing a lot of cars, people taking over debts on cars. Um, so you can take over a lot of things. You can take over debts on cars, you can take over real estate debt, anything that has a debt on it, you can take over. So that is what subject to is. Now, typically, obviously, you don't qualify for subject to, you qualify for the lender if you assume the loan. So assuming the loan and a subject to transaction are completely different. And I want to make that very clear because they're not interchangeable. Assuming versus subject to loans are completely different. They're separated. Okay. So subject to is taking over the existing debt. The debt stays in the seller's name and the buyer goes on title. I had somebody this past weekend say subject twos are so complicated. Subject twos are the easiest thing that you'll ever do in real estate because you're literally going through title escrow. You still go through title escrow, but all title escrow officers are not created equal. So you need to find one that does subject to, and they know as the escrow officer not to call the mortgage company for the loan payoff. So you need to make sure that you interview your title escrow officer because you want to make sure that they are not going to call the mortgage company, because if they do, it just makes stuff a little bit complicated. Let's just put it that way. Give me one moment. So I just closed the door. Okay, so I'm talking about subject to transactions. So you already know the basics of the subject to, with the taking over the existing debt payment. What happened to the TV?
Are you asking me or are you?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Or are you talking to your group?
both. I was interchanging. Well, I just started.
I get the logistics.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
I get the logistics to it. I mean, it makes sense.
Manuel is not a believer yet.
Well, I mean, here's the deal. I can understand what people's what's the word?
Hang up
Is on it.
He understands what the hang up is for people on the seller side, because what happens if the seller? Well, that's the agent's job. If they're listed, is to be able to explain it.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, most agents are closed off to it too. If you can explain, that's the thing about this is the benefit of calling directly to agent, because they're more willing to open when you first say you still get your commission, and they listen.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So they're saying, so agents will be open to it. Manuel is saying if you say that they'll still get your commission out of it, well, they will maybe take a hit on their commission though. But if there's a no equity deal, they really weren't going to get paid out a whole lot anyways.
But if you tell them, yeah, if they don't sell it, you're not going to get paid. But if you tell them, you're still getting a commission. You're
still getting a commission, and let's work it out. We can't pay you maybe the full amount.
You don't need to say that.
No, you just say you get paid your commission. That is true. You don't overthink. Yeah. Right.
That's it. What that is, who knows? It depends on the situation.
Yeah, but that's so crazy because you even you go into it, right? You go into everything, even though you say you still get your commission, and then trying to explain it to the agent, and then the agent saying X, Y, and Z about the transaction. They're like, this is a loophole. This is like, because the agent came back to me on the VA loan and she goes, no, we don't want to do it because of the due on sell clause. And I want to talk about the due on sell clause later. The due on sell clause states that if title changes, then the mortgage company has the right to call the note due, which is in the 300 transactions that I've seen. They've called 6 notes due and they never foreclose on them. And the reason for this, I was going to get into this a little bit later, but the reason for that is because if the mortgage is still getting paid, it doesn't matter. It's bank policy that they have to notify you that they can potentially call the note due, but 10 out of 10 times they've never actually called it due.
I agree.
There's no way that they can. The reason why you have a due on sale clause is because you don't pay your mortgage. They're not gonna.
But what would there be a title change? What was she? Oh, she was saying
when you change the title over. If I change the title over from Claire to Manuel, but the deed of trust, the mortgage stays in the seller's name, stays in my name, but you took over the property, that is. It has a potential of triggering the due on sale clause because you own the property.
But how would the lender find out? I mean,
they check it. They'll do like a random check on it. Yeah.
I see what you're saying when they run that. I mean, that makes sense.
But the only way.
That can happen with every loan.
Yeah, I could put my
I mean, it's not just particularly to with the VA loan. That can happen with any loan.
anything. Yeah, it's not particular with the VA loan.
This is right in line when we were upstairs when we were talking with when we were in our class.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say. In the in the 1031 exchange class that we took, I actually went up to him in the middle of it, and he was like, "If you change the note on it, if you change the deed on it, which is the title, then you trigger the due on sale clause." And he teaches it that way for one specific reason, which I realized because he is a 1031 exchange guy. So when they do all the construction loans where they go on title, they don't want to be responsible for if something were to happen and they get that trigger. That's he only says that because he doesn't want to be liable for the changing of the title, and he wants you to be able to pay all cash for it. So if his 1031 exchange company goes on title, then um they're not liable for anything happening with the mortgage.
Right. I'm good. It's just a matter of getting better at presenting it.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to go through all the steps today, because that way you guys kind of have at least a general idea, and then some of the objections that people have, because there's a lot of objections with this lady, and I should even like read the.
No, but I get it though because see now I get it. Why for me, why I would still want to go directly to seller with this.
I would still go direct to seller, but there are some agents.
There's going to be some mixed. There's going to be some wrong things said in the translation.
Yes, there will be wrong things said in the translation with the agent. So the best thing would be for the three of you, the agent, the seller, to all get on the phone. But the problem is that the agent is the gatekeeper.
Yeah, I mean that's why I like going directly to the seller because I can schedule a meeting at a Starbucks and then they can meet me, see who I am.
Right.
Here's my card. You want to meet in my office, whatever. And then I can explain it to the seller correctly.
Yeah, that's true. Correct. Yeah.
Because as you know, we heard this weekend, the agent didn't know anything. I mean, this weekend was a very interesting weekend.
We had a very interesting weekend. We went to another community, so not to get into it a lot, but we're trying to build a community in Houston. So if you guys are interested, definitely let's talk.
You're the only one that says team. Me and Claire talk the same language. Community.
Yeah, I'm not. What else are you? What
team? You guys
community? Well, when I first started real estate, it was a community of real estate investors. So that's why I like the community aspect of it, because community means not just like you hang out during business hours, also like you guys eventually have some fun together. And all right, Manuel's about to call people. You know, I think we need to start this at 7. I do have somebody coming at 6:30 that might need help getting in.
Okay, just have them call you.
Yeah. Okay, so why do we do subject to deals? Because it's a minimal upfront cost. It's not a 20% down payment typically. They're favorable terms for the existing mortgage. So for instance, right now, I'm sure everybody knows that there's an interest rate of, I don't know, I just paid 7.5. The lowest I've seen is like 5.5. I'm not quoting interest rates for all of you mortgage lenders out there. I'm not quoting them, but this is what I paid. I paid a 7.5 interest rate. I was talking to a multifamily guy today. He was like, we're at a 9% interest rate. So it's really crazy. So that is why we like subject twos in this particular market, because the interest rates are so high and stuff doesn't make sense as much number wise. So if I can get the interest rate in the last 2 years where it's been anywhere between 2 to 4%, that really helps it. There's no qualifying process. However, I do believe that you shouldn't ever try to take advantage of somebody, because if you don't have the money, then you shouldn't do it. But it doesn't necessarily need to be your money. It could be someone else's money, right? So Um, Anywho, so that's why we like subject to deals, is because I can literally get into a property for $20,000 or sometimes $10,000, $5,000, take the payments over, start making money immediately within a month after getting everything up and going, running it, and then I could cash flow anywhere between $200 to $500 and go out and buy another deal. So that is the reason why it's very minimal upfront cost, and then I could start making money right away, because a lot of these I can get a deal that's brand new 2021 build, so that is definitely possible. And we will be calling leads today, but I want to go through a couple more items before we get to the lead portion. But we have a list direct to agent. My team does not like calling direct to agent. I'm not really sure why exactly, but it is what it is. I think we need to start these around 7 is what I'm thinking. Okay, so like I was talking to Manuel, there is something called a due on sale clause, meaning that if you change title, the mortgage company has the right to call the note due. However, out of 3, 4, 500 transactions, even an attorney that I spoke to who's been doing this since 1989, he said that this is what it is. He said that 6 times that he's had it called, all 6 times he's never had the bank actually foreclose on them. Why? Because typically on due on sale clause means that you're not paying the mortgage. Mortgage companies have this happen all the time without us investors, believe it or not. Mortgage companies have this happen with probate. When somebody passes away, somebody needs to pay the payment on behalf of the original owner. Someone died and somebody else had to take over the payment. So it is a known process to the bank. And a lot of the time, the person who's paying the payment wants to go on title because they want to make sure that their payment is protected and that they're getting equity and they own the property. So this is not unusual business for the banks. The banks like one thing. They like money. They like being paid every single month. So if you come in and you switch over the title and the card on the actual mortgage, just know there is a potential of something happening. However, it's very highly unlikely. Thank you. It's very highly unlikely that they will actually call the note due. I've never seen it happen. I've done 4 subject to transactions myself. It hasn't even come close to them calling it due. I don't even think I got notified, nothing. So Philip, I think, is here. Okay, yeah, he's locked. Can you get it?
He's from Saturday?
Yeah. Okay. So I got I was going back and forth with an agent recently, and she says it's extremely risky. And I will say this, it is only risky if the buyer does not pay the payments to the mortgage company. That's the only risk that you're really taking in this. And then I had someone over the weekend say that subject twos are so complicated. And I'm like, you have never done a deal ever. So it's not complicated. You change over the title and literally you change there is a credit card payment that you have on a portal system, and you just switch over the credit card payment. That's it. It's so simple. So everyone who says it's hard, I don't see that. It's not hard. It's just understanding how to do it. Why the seller wouldn't like to have it is because of the lack of control. If something were to happen, they don't really have control over it. The other thing about the riskiness of the buyer default is that there's something called a performance deed, and the moment that me as the buyer doesn't perform, there will be a performance deed where you deed it back to the actual seller and they can take it back without going through the foreclosure process. They just take back the property. You could do that. The other thing is insurance. You do change over the insurance. You can change it over. Um, if you watch Pace Morby, he talks about changing it over like after they actually close on the property, changing it over so you don't trigger the due on sale clause. Another thing is power of attorney. You want to have a power of attorney for that specific property only from the seller, saying that you can talk to the mortgage company on their behalf. You can also register it at the register of deeds, so you can file it so that it's actually public knowledge, which a lot of people don't know. That you can have a power of attorney for that specific property is really good. All right, trust and credibility. This obviously takes a lot of trust from the seller and buyer to make sure that you guys are both on the same page with a lot of this. So making sure that you are trustworthy is super important. I don't think I need to explain that any further. Explanation of benefits of the property: quick sale, relief from mortgage, avoiding foreclosure, maintaining a positive credit. So this is meaning like if the seller is in a bad position. Hi, how are you?
How's it going?
Good. So
Can I get you some water, some coffee?
Water would be great.
Can I get you some water?
So I'm going through what exactly subject to transactions are, the minimal upfront costs, overcoming some seller objections, and I can go through these with you.
Okay.
So going through basically the whole thing, and then also the subject to entry fees. I'm live streaming, so that's why you see the microphone and everything. But the entry fee of like exactly how it is, and then we're gonna start calling people. So I'm kind of just give you like a synopsis of what exactly subject to is, because that way when you get on the phone and you have somebody who's like, well, X, Y, and Z, you can kind of overcome that objection. It's gonna be a learning curve, but I want to make sure that you understand it, so it's like it's not so foreign.
Right.
But I could start from the beginning. Not quite. I mean, I could start. You know the basics.
I know the basics. To be honest with you, I'm not trying to toot my horn or anything.
Yeah.
I know like enough. Where I get stuck at is the objections.
Okay.
So, like I don't know, like, hey, what are the common objections, and then how to overcome those objections.
Okay, so let's go through the objections then. So you know that you're taking over in a debt. You know that the person goes on title. The buyer goes on title. The reason why we do subject to is all that stuff. So the main objection that I have been getting is the due on sale clause. So the due on sale clause is basically saying like you changed over the title and now we're going to call the entire note due. So if it's a $300,000 mortgage, they're going to call the entire note. How do you overcome that? Well, out of all of the subject to transactions that we've done, not one of them they've been notified that they could potentially foreclose on them, but none of them have actually foreclosed. And here's the reason why: because the banks care about one thing: the money. That's all they care about. So when someone, how's it going? We're talking about subject to and overcoming the objections.
Oh my God!
You guys know each other?
It sounds like right now. Yeah.
Wait, how do you guys know each other?
He was show me a house. Yeah, he's potentially interested in a listing. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Small world in Houston.
John Anthony.
Yeah.
You name him?
Philip. Yeah. I like, I saw you.
So I met him at on Saturday
Okay.
with
So
like
the power
pace
hour?
and stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Love it. Getting some subject to do some control and stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to. So my wife and I were trying to actually find out or purchase our primary subject to, as you know, interest rates, all that. We're trying to pay that. So
So I was going.
Continue, man. It's been a minute. Shoot.
So I wanted to go through objections for the subject to, and you obviously understand this whole subject to, but there's certain objections that they you get as either the agent or the seller. They have questions. So the first one is the due on sale clause. Thank you. Thank you. The due on sale clause, and I was just explaining. Basically, I've purchased 4 subject to properties myself. I've never even had a notification go out, to be honest. And if it did, I didn't see it. But so out of all the transactions, the only reason, a lot of the time it's just bank policy that they have to come out with some type of notice where they know essentially that the title changed. Now, a lot of people don't realize that it happens all the time. And the reason for this is because somebody passed away and they take over the mortgage payments, and then typically their heirs go on title. That's where this whole thing came from in the beginning. A lot of people don't know that. So this is a normal thing for the bank, but when you switch over the title, they do have the right to call it due, but I've never seen a mortgage company actually foreclose on a property based off of the title changing over. And that was one of the objections that I got recently from that VA lady. And she was talking about how if you change over the title, then you run the risk of them calling the note due. I've never seen them call the note due because the banks want one thing, which is money. If you don't pay it, then they can call it due. But if you are paying it every single time, it's very, very unlikely. I've never seen it really happen ever, that they actually that they actually call the note due and they will foreclose on you. I've never seen it happen before. And the agent was like, I have investment properties and I don't want to even change it into an LLC because I don't want to run the risk of them calling it due. But there's really no risk to it because you can also get insurance. It's called equity insurance. So if they do call it due, which I've never seen happen, if they do call it due, you have the insurance that will back it up and that will actually become the first position mortgage and they will buy it out.
What kind of insurance company provides equity?
You really have to call around for the
For that?
yeah, because I've asked around, but it's a very few and far between, and so many insurance companies, their rates are hiking right now because of everything that's going on. I just was talking to someone, they had a 40% increase in their rates, but there are companies out there that will provide equity insurance for your property and they will take over the first position mortgage. It's very rare that it happens. The only way for them to really call it due is if you stop paying the payment. That's really the only option. So when someone says it's risky and what happens if the buyer defaults, there is something called a performance deed where you can actually deed it back to the seller. PACE talks about deeding it back to the seller. You shouldn't really ever have that issue if you have a tenant in there. But it does happen. So, well, I've never seen it. I've personally never seen it happen, but it could happen. There's a potential for it. And you could just deed the entire property. Now, if and when you do deed it back, just know that even that $20,000 upfront cost, that's gone. Like they get that property back with the amount of money that you actually put into the property. If you changed out the carpet, if you do anything, like you lose all that. So That's number one. The lack of control. This is a seller objection, right? So the lack of control, they don't have any control, and they don't. They have to walk away and they don't have any control over the property. I mean, there's no real nice way to say that other than no, you do not have any control of the property. You don't have any say so. You don't have anything to do with the property other than your name is still on the deed of trust. The other thing we talked about a little bit of the equity insurance. So the equity insurance will essentially take over if something were to happen. If you do have an issue where they do call the note due, which, like I said, it's very rare that it happens. But thank you. They also talk about insurance, meaning when you do purchase a property, you do need to put the insurance in your own LLC, or I don't recommend your personal name, but in your own LLC. Pace talks about doing it after the fact that you do the title escrow, that you close on the property and then you change over the insurance, because if you do it all at once, it could trigger the due on sale clause. Essentially, it's like a red flag in the system. I've done it where you do it in escrow, so I think it's a preference thing. So the other thing is, you do need to get a power of attorney from the seller for that specific property, because you need to be able to talk to the mortgage company on behalf of the seller, so you are direct in line with the mortgage company. Now, real estate agents they know that with the third party authorization, you can get that form, or you can get an actual power of attorney form. I didn't know this, but recently I found out that you can actually it's called registered of deeds, and you can actually, it's like public knowledge. It's like recording something with the county. It's like people know that it's on file type of thing, and everybody can see it. It's public record. So explanation of the benefits of the property, meaning if I was the buyer, what's the benefit of me coming in and catching up your mortgage payment, right? Because maybe they're behind on their mortgage. And obviously the first thing is avoiding foreclosure. That's number one. It saves their credit. And if you keep paying the payment, the credit score for that individual will continue to go up. It's a quicker sale. I can get something done as long as there's clear title and it passes inspection. You can typically close in 10 to 15 days. If somebody if somebody is in foreclosure, it's a lot easier to actually catch them up and go through that whole process. And I was saying this earlier, saying that you need to pick a title escrow company that actually does subject to, because all title escrow officers are not created equal. You need to interview them asking, hey, have you ever done a subject to transaction? And can you explain to me what exactly a subject to transaction is? Because if they don't know what it is and they call the mortgage company, that's going to be an issue. Something that you really don't want to go through if you can help it. Also, to get credibility and trust, it's also good to have references and testimonials saying like, hey, they took over my mortgage payments, they didn't have any issues, they paid on time. You can go through a third-party servicing company as well in order for them to collect the mortgage payments. I've just really gone into the actual mortgage portal and just paid it automatic payments through the mortgage portal itself. So I heard somebody this weekend say it's complicated to do subject twos, but you're literally getting clear title, transferring the title, and switching the credit card on the mortgage statement, and that's it. Literally, that's it. There's nothing. And obviously, if the property needs to be a little rehabbed, subject twos are not where you do a whole renovation. Subject twos are just for like paint, carpet, getting it rental ready. So it shouldn't take you more than 2 weeks for it to be on the market and up and going. So getting it rental ready for you so within a month, you should be in the money. shouldn't, I mean, even less than a month if you can help it, right? You should be getting it done in escrow of kind of like, you know, going through all the steps that you need to do to make sure that it's like taken care of, because somebody can go in there and do, should take a day to do carpet and a day to clean, and you should have that listed ready to rent. So I want to go through one last item, which is the actual money portion of buying a subject to, because you're going to get somebody like the agent is going to be like, okay, well, the person owes 220 and it's worth 350, and now it's a huge down payment, and that's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for stuff that is lower in equity, so that way we can take over the mortgage payments and have less to come to closing. Because if I can come to $10,000 with like plus closing costs, like that's a good deal, because I can buy multiple properties versus just one property. So typically you want the entry fee to be less than 1%, which is 1% of the entire mortgage. So if it's $250,000, you want a $25,000 entry fee, no more than $25,000. That's with due to seller, that's agent, that's wholesaling, that's closing costs. Is you might do a little bit more, like the reno costs, paint, carpet, all that cleaning. And then property inspection is typically $200 to $400 if it's a single family. And then you want to probably have at least like one mortgage payment on hand, so you can pay the first mortgage payment with no issue. Some sellers, they require you to have 3 payments up front in escrow, so that way they know that you're going to be paying it on time. Maybe that's a negotiation tactic. Hey, I don't know who you are. And then you can come back and say, hey, I can give you 3 payments up front. It sits in escrow, and they can do an automatic deduction out of escrow. So that way you don't have any issues with the first 3 more or any mortgage payment, but at least you know that I'm going to start with a chunk of money in there, so you feel more comfortable with this whole situation. I have done that before. So due to seller, that really just depends. A lot of times sellers just want to walk away from their property. There was the VA one. The lady's like, hey, I want it off my hands because come August, I have to be in a different city and I have to pay for more rent, and she can't afford 2 payments. So sometimes they're willing to walk away. She just bought the property a year ago, 2 years ago almost. And she's like, I just want out. I don't want the headache anymore. There's really no equity. By the time I pay all the closing costs, there's really nothing left over. So the seller, the agent sometimes might have to take a hit. Don't kill me. But they might, you know, if they have, but at the same time, if their client walks away and they don't make any money, the agent technically made more money than the client sometimes. So the agent should be happy kind of walking away with $5,000 in their pocket. A wholesale fee, you can tack on your 10, as long as the numbers work. This is what I was telling Manuel today, is it was like, well, some people do a $30,000 wholesale fee. I said, yes, because the numbers work, right? So on a $185,000 property, if I want to take a $30,000 wholesale fee, that means the end buyer has to make money as well. So can I take a $10,000 wholesale fee? Absolutely. I could, on a $200,000 property, I can take $100,000 wholesale fee, as long as the numbers work and you're able to sell it to a buyer. It doesn't matter what the wholesale fee is, as long as the numbers work. Now with subject twos, obviously, if it's a $250,000 property, you probably can only take around, you know, $10,000 in wholesale fee, right? Or maybe 20 if you get away with it. Closing costs, a lot of the time it's not really in the entry fee, but it definitely matters. It could kill the deal at the end of the day. So closing costs is 2% typically of the purchase price, right? So if the purchase price is $350, 2% of that. And that's split between the buyer and seller. So it's 2% to the seller and 2% to the buyer. Anybody want to open a title escrow company? It's a way heavily regulated. So then property inspection, like I said, is $400. If they want a property inspection, find out what. So when you're on the phone with these sellers or the agents, direct to agent or direct to seller, you want to find out three things. You want to find how much is owed on the mortgage, because you need to know the difference between how much is owed versus how much it's worth. That's important. Number two is I want to know the interest rate. I want to know PITI, which is the actual payment, taxes, insurance. I want to know all of it. I want to know what the total payment amount is. So those are the three things that I need to collect from the seller or agent. And then on the flip side, and how I actually go about making sure it's a good deal, is that I need to know the ARV, which is the after repair value, or a comp in the neighborhood, what it could eventually sell for, or what is it worth currently as is. And I need to know how much the rent is in the area, so then I can start making money within the first month. I don't want to be underwater, break even. I was listening to somebody this weekend, and they're like, oh, well, it's $11,000 entry fee, but we're going to break even. I don't wake up to break even. Okay. I'm breaking even on a property right now because the interest rates hiked 3 times on me. That's the only reason why. But if I'm doing a subject to property, it needs to cash flow up front. There's no reason why it shouldn't. If it breaks even, maybe it can go up in a year if you hike the rate, if you hike the rent, but that's assuming that nothing else hikes, right? What happens if you have something that breaks on the property? What happens if there's no cushion? What happens if your taxes increase? There's so many different factors to it. So breaking even is, to me, is not worth it. And I think they even said it was a no equity deal. So I'm not getting any equity, and I'm breaking even on the cash flow. Just because I can get $11,000 entry fee on it, that doesn't make it a good deal. Okay. So there was another situation that happened that I want to talk about this weekend. I'm just throwing people under the bus. I really should stop. So another situation that happened this weekend that I heard was they bought a no equity deal, which was a $9,000 entry fee. So good entry fee, solid. The lady lost her job. There's no equity. She bought it a year ago. It's brand new construction. It's beautiful. It was like a 3.5 interest rate. I don't know if they would have cash flowed on the actual rent. However, they went out and they got a private money lender for $40,000 total. You heard it. $40,000 total. And then the guy behind me goes, so you put $40,000 in a second position, deed of trust, and you have no equity in the deal. So my thing is if they did it for $9,000 entry fee and broke even on the property, to me, that would have been better than putting an Airbnb business in there. Now, if you guys know anything about Airbnbs, I have 12 of them. I have rental arbitrage 12 units. I used to have 19, and then I've scaled it back a little bit to the 12 that are really making money. And what I've noticed is like mine are apartments. I've done 2 houses and I've failed at 2 houses. And here's why. Houston is extremely competitive. There's one thing about Houston is like there is no permits here. So anybody could do rental arbitrage. Or anybody can do Airbnbs. There's no restrictions. The second thing is like I did it in the ghetto. Where was that property located? In the ghetto. Nobody, I'm telling you, they will ream you in the comments. And I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm not trying to be rude about this whole thing, but I'm just telling you my experience. They will ream you in the ghetto, in the reviews. And they would be like, don't come here because it's in the ghetto. No, it's a nice place, but if they want to go out and just go down to the bar down the street, they're not going to be able to do that. The other thing is that's a lot. $30,000 is a lot. And then they said their cash flow is, after all the expenses, including the private money lender at 10%, was $500 to $700. And they're supposed to pay the private money lender back in 2 years. How the heck are you going to pay your private money lender back from the cash flow that you get in your Airbnb? And if you know anything about Airbnbs, 1 month you can make $10,000. The other month you can make no money and you're in the hole. It's very in Houston, there's a huge slow season. So Houston, March, April, May, June, July is good, but then August, September, November, October, November, December, and January are horrible. So you have a huge slow season when it comes to Airbnbs as well. And if you're making $5,000 gross with all your expenses paid out, Wi-Fi, all of that stuff, I'm telling you, that's not enough money. My apartments make $500 each now, and they have a huge house that's only going to make them $500. So the cushion should be more in the $1,000 to $3,000 range for them to actually be successful in a business venture, in my opinion. This is just me because I've been through it. I've lost money on it, so I just want people to know like the ups and downs and the pros and cons about getting started in Airbnb. It's not, and right now it's very saturated market. So I would rather put a tenant in there knowing every single month that I'm going to cash flow on it versus an Airbnb that's going to go up and down, up and down. Airbnbs are supposed to be vacation destinations typically for them to do well. I have a very different model. I target corporate rentals. So I target nomads, the traveling nurses, the people who are business, coming here for business. So I have a very different approach to Airbnb because that's my angle for my apartments. It's set up where they can do their work out in the actual unit itself. So it's a little bit different. And that's reflected in my title, the Airbnb. It's reflected in the whole thing. Of course, I get people who come in and stay to see Houston, but I get a lot of 1 to 2 month, 3 month booking because they want to stay for a while and they're here to work, or they're here to kind of work and play at the same time, essentially. All right. So what I am not going to go into today, which we can do another day, because I want to get on the phones, but there is a way to obviously structure these deals with private money. And there are exit strategies that we can also talk about, but that is not today at the moment. So we are going to do scripts, and we're going to actually get on the phones. We have lists. You have a list, John Anthony? No, I don't have. No, we were going to give you a list. These are all the same. John Anthony, do you have a list?
I can go grab mine. It's over there.
Okay. So these are going to be direct to seller. Unless you want direct to agent. Some people these guys like direct to seller. I like direct to agent.
I've been calling, honestly, direct to agent.
Okay.
And one of my checks also asked about this. Maybe I'm just out of how to ask, but I feel like a lot of agents are like, I'm not going to give you their mortgage or interest or.
Oh, really?
This is your list that you have.
Yeah. Do you have a direct to agent list?
This is your direct to agent that you printed out that has nothing right there. I'm guessing it's the agent's list. What's your list?
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's give him this
We
one.
don't have to do that.
Yeah. No, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, that was your, I don't know when that was, or what properties those are.
So typically with the agents, typically with the agents, so let's go through the agent stuff. So what I've learned in this community we went to on Saturday is that you have to lowball them with a cash offer first, and then go back and even ask them about creative financing, because if you don't, it's really hard. They don't want to listen to you unless you kind of like make them an offer, essentially. And I can give you the script that they have because I actually like the script. I think it's good to practice it a couple times. For you, that way people don't understand, like, the best salespeople practice, because you're not going to be good at it the first time. Let's see here.
Yeah, 'cause I was using another script and I was basically. I'll pull it up.
If you have a script, that'd be great for here's the let's see here.
I would love some coaching feedback.
Yeah. If you want to call in front of people, if not, that's okay too. We just
Oh yeah, I don't care.
okay.
Screw up or anything. Y'all can tear me to
So
shreds.
ours is a little bit different because we're all agents, so we have to say that we're agents. But the good thing about you is that you don't have to disclose that. So I would look at the days on market,
Mhm.
and you should do the more days on market, the better. So like 55, like this one's 55.
Mhm.
Those are the ones you kind of want to go after.
Gotcha.
And some of them might be already we pulled that list last week, so some of them might already be under contract. Yeah. So you have a script then?
Yeah.
Before I forget, we need to take a photo. Smile. Oh wait, it was on live. Hold on. Okay. So should I call this list?
Yeah.
Okay.
That way they can hear you. Like.
Yeah.
Just pick up on the address.
I have a horrible habit of saying the address on. Someone actually caught onto something. I was like, I really need to.
Like off of it from last week.
Not a week ago, yeah. I was like, oh God, I can't say certain things now. Isn't that fun? Okay. So do you want to go first? Oh, look at you. I like the confidence. Let's do it.
Are these direct to seller list? Low equity?
You can use one.
Yeah, I think is this low equity?
Yeah, these are expired.
Oh, expireds. They're not necessarily low equity. Do you want to do this one? We pulled this for today.
Here's the low equity.
Well, no. The ones that I have are not low equity. They're more. It wasn't even really targeted.
See, we.
Okay, yeah, let's do this. These are expireds.
I don't know.
I've just pulled this morning.
Isn't that what-
Direct to seller, or is that to the agent?
No, this is sellers.
straight sell?
I did I skip traced those this morning. What's that, an office?
Hey Yolanda, I am actually trying to reach Michael Overbay about his listing on Tower Stone Drive.
Okay, are you an agent or
Buyer. Just a buyer.
because
I'm a buyer.
you're a buyer and you're trying to reach him?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have his number?
No, ma'am. Do you have it by chance?
No, I don't have it. I don't have his number. Here listed. Hold on one second. And are you trying to rent a property or buy this property?
I'm trying to buy it.
Okay, we can do it this way. What's your first name?
Philip?
I know who Michael is.
Is that?
Oh, you do?
Two P's, I mean, two L's?
Yes, ma'am, it's 2 L's, PHILLIP.
I could just do it.
Okay, what's your last name, Phil?
Okay.
Patterson?
Okay.
You're going to be through the system and they're going to call you every 2 seconds.
Right. One is for
Yes, ma'am.
She's not even going to ask you which one.
You know what? I think I found this number right here. I actually think I found it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, anything else I can help you with, Phil?
No, ma'am, I'm good.
Okay, you have a great evening.
You too. Bye.
Is it 832-725-8995?
I got 713-272-7133.
Probably his office.
Oh.
Michael, there's only one. I mean, Michael Overby isn't really a popular name.
Yeah.
I think.
You have the number?
He's a property manager. Yeah, I know. I met him through my BNI network. So
Maybe you can call him and see if the listing.
what do you want to call him about?
He has a listing.
A listing that's been on 49 days on market.
For sale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the address?
9203 Tower Stone Drive.
Did you text Richard?
Tower
Yeah, he
Stone?
said it tomorrow.
What time?
What time? Hey, Carlos. Hola, señora.
This guy's an OG.
You think he's going to?
He's an OG.
Oh, that's so. I've called this guy. I called this. He has another listing. Owner financing available.
It's under contract, option pending.
Oh, okay. So this list was pulled like a week ago. So there might be some stuff that's.
Yeah, I'll cross-reference this with
I want to talk to that. No, 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 no. What the heck? No, that. Okay. These prices keep increasing. Section. Days on market 9/27. I want this one. All right. We're going to make some phone calls and then I'm going to end this live stream in about 10-15 minutes and do some phone calls with you guys. This one. This is $1 million property. I don't want that one. I called that lady. She was. Oh, that one lady, remember on Saturday? The one that was for sale option. It was in escrow. She never really got back to me though. You know who I'm talking about? Oh. You making phone calls today? You got too much business going on.
Some
Yeah.
clients at a property right now.
Are you supposed to be there?
No. But they weren't supposed to be going.
Why were they going? Why are they going?
His wife just got back from Colombia. And he just, that would be a good idea to go looking for property.
How are they getting in?
I just had made arrangements so we go there.
Look at you. Some of these have been on the market for a while.
So those are the ones you want.
Hmm?
Those are the ones you want.
Mm-hmm.
Please text me and I will get back to you
John Anthony says, I would just text them. I would, yeah. I don't look at my voicemail.
Here's your list from last week. What was this list? This is your list from last week. The week number 4.
I think that was a couple weeks ago.
No, this was last week because I numbered it for them.
Oh,
So where's the list?
that's this one right here. He has it.
I'm gonna start from the back.
John Anthony, I think, wants to do some of it too. He has, yeah.
I'll call last week. This week.
No, that's this week.
No, but
Oh, yeah. No, but those are expired listings. I think they're more targeted, those ones. Belinda Cox.
what was the zip code you were looking for? Who was looking for?
I don't remember. That we have a buyer for a zip code of 77494. He wants a 4-bedroom.
I have 449.
494. You didn't pull the right one?
No, it's Katie 7449.
I think I told you the zip code though, didn't I?
You said Katie.
Oops. They always call me out. It's always my fault.
I think I mess up it once in a while.
Some of these are like brand new constructions. All right, I'm gonna call these ones. I picked through a lot of these. We're gonna start with these ones. I always tell everybody that in order to be an agent, you just have to be able to answer your phone. You will be better than 99% of the agents when you answer your phone.
No, that is a Katie zip code too. I mean, these are all Katie zip codes, but basically we don't have everything good, bro.
Yeah. Agent stuff, man.
I know. I see. Let's talk about it.
Would you still call like properties that were built in like the 70s?
Yeah. I mean, it's good practice for now.
Gotcha.
There's not 1494 in here. They're all 449s, but that's the biggest.
Hey, I don't have a pen.
Dude, I knew you wouldn't have a pen.
Actually, I think I might.
No, I knew you wouldn't have one.
Manuel
Look at you.
always does.
You need some more coffee, man?
Coffee, protein bar. I'm set.
You need some more coffee?
No, I'm good. I won't fall asleep tonight. This is an interesting one right here.
Hey, is this William? Hey, William, my name's Philip, and I was just calling to see if your listing on 7915 Oak Moss was still available.
Yes, sir. Still available.
Awesome. Do you currently have any like cash offers on the table or anything that you're currently looking at accepting anytime soon?
No, we've gotten an offer 2 weeks ago. It was just too low, so didn't take it.
Gotcha. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, like I know that. So I'm an investor and I work with a group here in Houston, and I know that you're probably getting like cash offers that are from investors that are like lowball offers. I was wondering if you're finally interested in accepting accepting a full list price offer with no concessions or no contingencies.
For a full list price offer?
Yes, sir.
Of course, yeah.
Awesome. Well, do you think they'll be interested in that full list price on creative terms?
Look at him.
On creative terms, no, because there's a hard money loan on this.
Oh,
Ooh.
yeah.
This
That's
property was flipped.
yeah.
Gotcha. So
That's
they're
why.
trying to get rid of it. I understand.
I mean, they're at 10% interest rate right now, so they're
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
I understand that.
they're not trying to do any creative stuff. It's not like it's sitting on a 4 or 5% interest rate.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I hear you on that. Well, I tell you what, William, do you have any other properties that you have that
He's solid.
coming up on like?
He's solid. He doesn't need any help.
Anything I can take a look at? Okay, well, I'll just keep your number on my phone. I'll love to work with you sometime. Yeah.
Dude, that was solid. You don't need,
Pretty good.
because you got him to basically say yes to your full price, no contingencies, no nothing. And he said yes, right? And then like, but on creative terms, but my terms. That was solid. There was, I didn't, do you guys have any feedback? I think it was solid.
That was good.
Yeah, I think it was solid. And then you asked him if he had any pocket listings. Like, that's solid. You,
And
that's
do what I do. Do you have any other properties?
any other properties, like,
Yeah, I was just like saying, I guess I was just second guessing myself. Like,
no, you, that was solid.
No, that was good.
No, and sometimes you just need to do it. I think people don't understand, like, sometimes you just need to get over just the first call is like the heaviest one. And once you get the first one, it's like everything else is good. So no, you're solid. I don't need to tell you anything. Yeah, and if you don't, and if you get caught up with the creative terms, hey, I need to talk to my business partner, and then I'll call you back tomorrow to actually have the terms because I gotta run my numbers on it.
That's where I messed up. I had like 4 leads where that exact thing happened. I didn't know who I had one go.
Yeah, that's why yeah, exactly. That's
What do I do? So I let those just literally.
that's so crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then if you ever get caught, they're like, okay, what are your terms? They're like, well, what's the mortgage? What's the mortgage owed on it? How much? Like, let me, and then I'm gonna have to get back to you because I need to run the comps. I need to do a bunch of stuff. Let me get with my business partner, and then I'll get back to you with all the other information. So, but you need the mortgage, you need the payment, and you need the interest rate. Yeah, to make them a creative term offer. Yeah, perfect. Oh, you're solid.
Welcome to Rachel Allen Real Estate Group. Please wait while we transfer your call.
This,
The
oh,
person at extension 1.
that's an extension. Office phone, agent phone.
It's been busy.
Um.
Then at the time that we were connected, you were traveling a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I got a new job actually. I'm now working Citgo now.
Okay.
That's
oil and gas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So new job, more money, which I'm happy about. I'm trying to deploy that money.
There you go.
So these taxes, I need them all for now.
You just need one rental so you can write the depreciation off against your W-2 income. Are you trying to tell me that I'm a bad note taker?
Yes, make notes so you remember what you did.
Sort of fun.
A lot of these agents are like, I'm 6 o'clock and I'm out. The agent kind of seemed like, okay, what's the catch?
Yeah, that's all, I
Hey,
did
what
what
time in the morning are you good? What's up for a phone call?
9, 10 o'clock,
10 o'clock.
10.
All right.
Hey, good
Sure.
evening. I was hoping to speak to Mike.
I know, I forgot my headphones.
I'm a licensed realtor with Color Ones Memorial. I know the call's out of the blue, but I was just calling about offers that we go or she owns 16406 Sheffield Run. Okay, tomorrow. Well, what's a good time to call her tomorrow? Okay, 1 second. Around 2 p.m. Is that a new one you have there with you? Congratulations.
Actually don't want this property at all.
2 or 3 p.m. And is it the home line or is it the cell phone? Oh, it's a business line. I gotcha. Is there a direct line that I can get a hold of her on, like a mobile phone, or would this be it? Sure. Yeah. Yeah, this is the best number. John Anthony. That's my number's 832.
Hello.
Do you have it already?
Hi, my name is Claire, and I saw
Hey, good afternoon.
your
Oh,
sorry, it's a little noisy in here.
So you got-
I saw your
so
listing
at, 11:00
on
Okay.
Mount Pleasant Street.
No. Thanks, John.
I saw somewhere on the listing that said the loan was assumable.
No. It's a new construction. There's no loan.
Oh, there's no loan. Oh, okay, so it's there. It's a basically. I got your listing from an assumable. So the loan is not assumable, is what you're saying.
There is no loan on the house right now.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Why are agents so weird?
Hey Jesse, this is Phil. I was calling for a listing on Sir Williams Drive. I was wondering if it was still available. Okay, awesome. Have you gotten any like cash offers currently, or anything on the table that you're looking at accepting anytime soon? Okay, and well, like how soon are you kind of like looking to like move this property, like make a decision in the next few days or so?
Thank you for calling.
My property.
Okay, no, that's I understand that. Well, I work with a group here in Houston, and I know like you're probably getting phone calls from other investors for like low ball cash offers. But I was wondering if your client would be interested in accepting like a full list price with no concessions or no contingencies and no appraisals.
Yeah, what would that look like?
Yeah, so like if they're
Hi,
interested
Angela.
in
My name is
offer a
Claire
full
with
list
Gun
price,
Realty. How are you?
It'll be something like on the appraisal terms.
I'm doing well. I saw your listing on Del Rio Street.
Yeah, no problem.
And I saw in the agent remarks or somewhere on the listing says that the loan is assumable.
No, not on mine.
Sorry, my assistant pulled an assumable list and apparently he didn't do a very good job with it. He's laughing right now.
Ours is not assumable.
Hey,
Okay.
We can do owner financing if needed, but no, it's not assumable. That
Oh.
is listed for $399.
What would the,
Furnishings and,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, $399 without furnishings and $430 with furnishings, and we can offer owner finance with a 20% down payment, and we'll be competitive with the interest rate.
Hey, good evening, Judy.
So usually typically when you want owner financing, there's some benefit to going with owner financing, right? So
Yeah, the benefit right now is tough to get loans. So, and then we can, like I said, I can beat the market rate. Just really depends on the buyer, how strong they are. I'm an investor, so I'm very familiar with different, creative financing and all of that. So,
I love it. So so instead of owner financing, would there be other options that you would consider as well, such as subject to?
Keep in touch with
no, why would I do subject to it? No, I'm not losing the property or anything. No.
Losing, I mean, subject to is not necessarily losing it, it's just taking over because you have
No,
a.
I don't want. Yeah, no, I'm looking to cash out. I'm not looking to do a subject to.
All right, well, appreciate you for taking
Where
the
you
call.
take over, you assume the loan. No, I'm not looking to do that. I'm looking to cash out.
Is this your property then?
Yes, it is.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
So is the Airbnb? Do you know how much it's bringing in?
We do more midterm rentals, so it's a pretty good revenue. I think it's about $65K a year before expenses. So I think the net, I don't have it in front of me. I think the net is about $35K after all expenses.
That's not including the mortgage payment though.
I said after all expenses. Yeah, that included everything. So the gross is like 71. But again, we don't do your traditional nightly rental turnover. We focus more on patients and families of patients that are here for surgery.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's a different model because it's right near the med center. It's very close to the Houston Med Center.
got you. Okay. Well, if I decide to do that, I will probably do own financing, but I have to talk to my business partner and get back to you.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks. Bye. You know, some people I just don't want to work with.
Is that a commercial deal?
It's an Airbnb. They do midterm rentals. I bet you $10. Actually, I bet you $100. She's not making shit on the Airbnb. Exactly. All right. I'm going to end the live stream. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.